Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise, and we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear viewer and listener, my name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Let me welcome you to another invigorating episode of The Nuggets. As always, we try to bring you life-changing, energizing business information, something that you can take home, something that can impact your life in a positive way. And most importantly, we seek to enthuse, to energize and inspire you as we bring to you entrepreneurs, difference makers and game changers in the marketplace. And today, do I have two of those? You're going to just love them. But as always, I don't want to steal their thunder. Let them do the introductions. Let me start with you, Brendan.
My name's Alex. So I am the marketing manager for High Range Safari City and Canopy Center here in Gabs.
Okay. And the other gentleman?
Yeah, Brendan Classen. Yeah, I'm sales and operations manager of High Range Safari City. Yeah, we've been up and going since about 2008 now.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to need your condensed CVs each. Just a little bit about your background, academically and how you... Very, very short. And then you go first.
Well, yeah, for background, I was actually born in Zimbabwe in 1980, giving my age away. Then moved to South Africa, grew up there, finished my schooling there, and moved to Botswana in 1999. I've been permanently in Botswana.
Okay.
Yeah.
And educationally, academically?
Done matric and stuff up to that, and then studied tourism, hotel management and tourism, and then moved over to Botswana.
Okay. And yourself, sir?
So I am originally from Senegal. I was born in Dakar. I left Senegal when I was about 12 years old and moved to the United States, which is where I learned English, because they only speak French in Senegal. So I did most of my schooling there, finished off high school, and then went to a place called Atlantic University to study political science and international business.
Okay.
And I took a little break from that and came to Botswana to actually volunteer in conservation. And ended up in Cape Town for 10 years and met my wife there and moved back to Botswana.
Tell us, now let's get to the nitty-gritties now. How did the Passion project start?
I think I'll let Brandon answer this one.
Obviously being avid off-roaders, enjoying the outdoor life, etc., fishing, etc., going on camping trips, we saw a gap in the market where amongst our friends saying that to get vehicles accessorized for that application, there wasn't that much available in Gaborone back then. So and that's just how the whole dream started, and decided to open up High Range, and it's just grown from strength to strength.
If you can describe the business model in a nutshell, how does it operate?
Well, look, we've got a few companies under one roof, sister companies, separate entities. We've got High Range Safari City, which does all your heavy duty off-road stuff for the off-roader, and then we've got Canopy Center, which also does, it's more your fleet. How can I say fleet styling and stuff, etc. Accessories. So your like nudge bars, reserve fuel tanks, that type of stuff, side steps. It's just basically, like I said, we do focus more on the fleet side of things under Canopy Center, and then High Range, obviously, like I said, the more heavy duty stuff, replacement bull bars, suspensions, spotlights, winches, canopies, tents for the avid off-roader. Yeah.
What is typically your target market?
It's a very good question. That I mean, when we originally first started back in 2008, 90% of our clientele, business, if you want to call it that, was just a guy who's got a cattle post out in the middle of the bush. He's got his vehicle, he wants a bull bar, a set of rails on there, and it was a workhorse vehicle, and that was about 90% of our market. It was workhorse vehicles, so they wanted the vehicles to work for them. They didn't want to spend too much money on them, but they wanted them to be able to use it in those conditions where they're using it.
Okay.
and for their applications. And funny enough, over the years, which is it's been great to see, is obviously Botswana being a big tourist destination, a lot of people come here already kitted out from South Africa, for instance. And what we're finding now, there's a lot more of the Botswana who are getting involved in the whole camping thing and outdoor thing, and guys coming in, getting excited, kitting out the vehicles, coming in again and adding another accessory, and it's just been great to see. So like I said, it has definitely changed over the last last 5 or 8 years.
When I was younger, I used to like watching a show on DSTV called Pimp My Ride.
Yep.
Do you actually pimp rides in a sense?
Look, we pump them per se, but the stuff, the accessories that we pump with, we know that they can work, and they can work under the conditions that we've got in Botswana. South African off-roading, it's a totally different terrain that they use vehicles in there. You've got tar roads where most of the guys are traveling to get to their campsites. Yeah, it's totally the opposite. So it's you might call it pumping, but the stuff that we add via pumping, we know is rugged and strong enough for our terrain that it gets utilized.
Yeah, and if you give a typical sort of before and after scenario, a guy would come with a car or a vehicle needing what, and he would leave with a vehicle needing what. Suppose he wants to go through the Kalahari and end up in the swamps somewhere.
Look, once again, it's also a good question. There's a lot of people need different accessories on the vehicles for what they're utilizing the vehicle for. So not a lot of guys can afford to come in. I mean, the options on accessories on vehicles are, and you can spend double the value of a vehicle just on accessories on a vehicle. So each person, like I said, has got different uses and different budgets on their vehicles. What we have noticed in the past, which guys are doing a lot, is if they're buying a brand new vehicle, is going to their dealership that they're getting the vehicle from, telling them what their plan is with the vehicle. The customer comes to us, we give them a revised quote on everything, a detailed quote. They take that quote to the dealership. The dealership then incorporates that into the value of the vehicle, and then once they get the approval, we just get the vehicle gets sent to us from the dealership, and we accessorize it, and the customer just pays that off monthly on his installments, including the accessories. Then we also get customers who have got a vehicle that they're using currently, and look, like I said, not many people can afford to come in and just splash money all out onto the vehicle. So a lot of guys do come in, and we encourage it as well, is come in, we can advise what we think is going to be best for your application, spend some money on the vehicle, on certain aspects, on certain products, should I say, and then use the vehicle, go out on a trip. While you're on the trip, we'll say, okay, this next accessory that they spoke about, that's what I need to spend money on next. And then just spend monthly, bi-monthly, add accessories to the vehicle and that for what they need it for.
I don't know whether you're able to answer this, but it's a bit of a tricky question. When I was there, I noticed that the place was very pristine, very neat, very clean.
Correct.
But for people who deal in dirt, is it a philosophy about cleanliness, about keep maintaining a certain standard?
Look, for sure, we try and keep our workshop as clean and pristine, and there's an image that goes behind that. If you've got a clean workshop, you work nicely, and you look after your customers, that means you look after everything that goes in between that as well.
So it's part of the philosophy.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
Now, before I ask you what you're planning in the next 5-10 years, I'd like to know about your founder. Who is he, and as a businessman or businesswoman, give me a little bit more on the founder.
Go for it, Brendan.
Yeah, look, the owner of the company, Chris Thompson, he was a very good friend of mine. And like I said, as when we were going out together and using vehicles and enjoying our out rides over the weekend or just for a day, and needing certain accessories and seeing a gap in the market and not being able to get it locally, that's how this whole, it all just came about. Yeah, the dream, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. So what's his background like? Because youngsters always want to know who they can emulate.
Yeah, look, he's been in Botswana for, I think, approximately 30, if not more years. His father and them were obviously also based in Gaborone. And he just got the idea, and we sat and chatted about it, and that's how it came up.
And how big is the company in terms of employees, and to the extent you can share the asset base and so on?
Look, yeah, we're sitting in the region of about 20, 25 employees at the moment, mainly all fitters, and then we've obviously got our foremen, etc., and then our staff in the offices, accounts, and that type of stuff. People in charge of orders, and so yeah, we're sitting on about 20, 25 people.
Okay,
Staff,
I'll come back to this question on 5-10 years. Normally comes around the end because I'm really interested in you painting a picture. So about the industry. So give me the state of the industry, the 4x4 industry, and give me an idea of where it's heading.
Look, as I was saying earlier as well, it is changing. Like I said, the requirements for accessories on vehicles from what we started off in 2008 to where we're sitting at the moment has changed drastically, dramatically. And like I said, it is nice to see. There's guys, like I said, have got workhorses, and that's all they simply use it for. And they obviously want the right accessories for it. And then we also, like I said, get the guy who's it's a dual-purpose vehicle. It's a workhorse, but then it's also their camping vehicle. So a lot of this, the stuff that we do fit onto vehicles is removable.
Do people want to maintain the same luxurious environment, air conditioning, that they enjoy in town, in the bush? In other words, would they want those sort of rides?
There is. Look, I wish we could fit an aircon to every camping vehicle, especially with our temperatures.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, once again, it all just depends on budget, what the customer is willing to spend.
Yeah.
So we cater for and keep every category happy for what they're willing to spend on and what they're willing to enjoy out in the bush. Like I said, the options on accessories are
Endless.
Totally endless. Yeah.
Is there particular sites or places in Botswana which are becoming increasingly popular, which are enabling your clients to access now?
Look, obviously, if you're looking at more wild camping areas, Kutsi is a firm favorite, being the closest to Gaborone or to the city, if you want to call it that. So Kutsi has gotten very popular. But yeah,
What is so special about it?
I think it's also, like I said, if you're looking further north, like Moremi, which is obviously the main attraction, it's all unfenced camping out in the bush. Same thing, and you don't get that often. I mean, for instance, South Africa either, Kruger National Park areas. Everywhere you go, everything is fenced in. So you've got that sense of security, but I think just that whole the drawing power of being out in nature. You totally, what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Self-sufficient, but also you exposed to the elements.
Yeah.
Correct.
100%. And I think that's what draws the.
But a negative-minded person would think that you could be launched any moment.
100%. And look, if you're not careful, you can. So yeah, it's one thing that we also do encourage guys that come in. We just explain to them if they are fairly new to it, just keep. We've obviously got a whole process where we go through and tell them, listen. Be careful, especially at night. Don't let kids walk around, and don't leave food lying around, and you don't want to draw them into your campsite unnecessarily. Yeah.
Are you in partnership with these campsites in any way? Is there kind of relationship there?
No, we're not. No.
Okay.
Yeah, we have as well. We've got a bookings company, which is based in Mound, which is called Botswana Footprints. So obviously, trying to get campsites and accommodation in some of the areas is quite difficult. So what the booking company does, you email them what your plan is, what you would like to do, and they've got direct contact with all the lodges, the campsites, etc., and they make the bookings for you, send you your vouchers. It's a one-stop shop as well, which is quite nice.
So what was the selling point for you? I mean, your background coming from the States, from Senegal and so on.
So
what was the selling point? What really got you in?
For high-range safari?
To the industry, yeah.
Well, I'm a big off-roader myself. I run an Instagram page and a Facebook page of all our family adventures. I've got 2 little kids, and we really enjoy being in the bush. Growing up in Senegal, this reminds me a lot of home, so wild and all that. And how I got into high-range safari city, I come from a film industry background in Cape Town. So a lot of advertising, filming, stills and all that kind of stuff. So this studio is very familiar to me. So yeah, I do the marketing side at High Range. So I'm very good with the stills and images and the marketing side of things. And I really enjoy doing that.
Okay. So in terms of your day-to-day, what you do for them?
So I basically oversee the fitments, making sure that we are seen across the board. So on our social media pages, on our websites, stay updated. queries online.
So you're an influencer of sorts.
I wouldn't call it that. but yeah, I make sure we're seen across the board, and I make sure that our queries are answered correctly to all our potential customers across our social media pages.
Okay. And is there a shift? Because in the old days, typically it would be guys straight from South Africa. Do you see a noticeable shift in terms of the local government, the local market, in terms of the average Botswana getting really deep into this industry?
I would say so.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like I said, in the last 8 years, it's mind-boggling how big it actually has grown and how big they've gotten into it. And like I said, it's awesome to see because, I mean, we live in a beautiful country. There's no argument about that, and there's so much to see. And the big thing where we saw a big change in it as well is obviously during COVID times, where you couldn't travel, obviously cross borders. I mean, there's so much to see, and albeit in this country as it is. And guys really got into that, spent money on their vehicles because they couldn't cross borders, couldn't travel anymore. And they just enjoyed and got to experience what Botswana's got to offer.
Yeah, I don't know which one of you will answer this question. I have a 4x4 Jeep, Grand Cherokee.
I know a guy where you can go to.
I'm just, let me ask the question. And I look at a place like the Mogobe salt pans where there's a lot of salt, it's beautiful. But I want to, pimp my ride, as it were, for that terrain. What would you advise and how do you go about pimping this particular vehicle?
Look, it's a very good question. It's what you've also got to keep in mind with, especially bringing up Mogobe salt pans, that place can swallow vehicles if you're not careful and you don't stick to the roads and take risks and stuff. It can literally, your vehicle...
Swallow it, you disappear with the vehicle.
The vehicle will literally just sink down, you're not going to get it out. It's going to take you weeks sometimes to get it out of there.
I thought you meant, what do you call it, the sand?
It's not far off that. It's very deceiving. The pans have got that solid crust on the top, which looks solid. So guys are very tempted to go off the main track, and they literally just get bogged down. And it's to get recovery vehicles into those areas to try and recover you out of it. It literally can take weeks.
Wow.
And there's still vehicles that are stuck there from 20 years ago now that are just sitting there.
They decided to leave them there.
So it's what we've got to keep in mind is, are you traveling on your own? Are you going to be
Let's
totally
say I take my family with.
But in one vehicle?
Yeah.
See, doing that, then you've got to start also looking at being able to self-recover yourself. Bull bar, proper replacement bull bar.
Number one, bull bar.
Winch.
Winch, what's that?
Recovery device that attaches to the front of your vehicle, sometimes to the rear. But yeah, it's a self-recovery device. So if you attach it to a tree, if you don't have a tree, you can dig a hole, put your tire in there, your high lift jack, connect your winch to that.
I don't think there are trees in the Mogobe.
Yeah, you're going to battle. That's why you're going to have to dig a hole and bury that spare wheel.
Yeah. And then what else?
There's obviously water is the big thing.
You provide the water, or you provide...
containers for the water, to store the water.
And you then install that within the vehicle?
Yeah. Okay. Majority of the times is on the roof rack. Our front runner roof racks, which we've been doing from day one. Amazing product as well. We've got various options on water storage, fuel storage. There's numerous options on anything that you want to store on a vehicle's roof. Front runner will have a solution for that. So yeah, your main thing, especially if you're going to be out in the bush, water, fuel, obviously fridges, to keep your food and stuff cold.
You supply those as well?
We do that, and then dual battery systems. Now, dual battery systems is basically, it's a separate power source which you'll be charging off your alternator, but once the vehicle is off, you'll be running power off that auxiliary system, but not draining the starter battery. It's once again, how long is a piece of string? How long are you opening, closing the fridge? What is your ambient temperature? But obviously, you want it to be able to run at least overnight, so the next day you can run your vehicle, charge the battery up. But once again, there's options where you can add 2 or 3 extra batteries in a vehicle if space provided.
Okay.
But yeah, obviously, the main things out there: water, fuel, your fridge, refrigeration system.
Don't you have to change the wheels, make them bigger? I've seen these massive ones.
Which it can be a downfall as well.
How so?
First of all, if you're on your way up north and you, for instance, lose a tire or 2 tires due to punctures or whatever it is, to try and get that same size somewhere in the middle of Botswana, in Man, for instance, or Kasane or Francistown, you're going to battle. So we try and stick to a fairly common size on tires, but obviously tires do make a big difference.
And there's also a difference between street tires and
Yeah.
off-road tires or mud tires or all-terrain tires. Those all have different applications and
Looks
intended
like you have to
uses.
take me to school before you sell me anything. Yeah, I mean,
Look, your average street tire, which is quite slick, which gets good grip on the road, won't necessarily get good grip in the mud or in the sand and so on and so on, which where you run the risk of bogging down or getting completely stuck.
so it seems to me then you need to take your customers through what they want and advise them the risks, the pros and the cons, and how to go.
Correct. That's also
So
what
do you
we're there
actually
for.
you get to the point of designing the trip for the client?
We don't necessarily design the trip, but we help guide the customer to build the vehicle for its intended use. So whether it being going to the Delta or staying on the road most of the time and so on and so on.
Okay. Let's try another destination, CKGR. I just want to wake up one day, I'm tired of Mogobe Plaza. I just want to go out in the bush. And I say, guys, here's my vehicle. Tell me what I need and why.
Suspension and tires would be...
Yeah, so look, obviously
Good
you're
one.
keeping in mind the accessories that you're adding to the vehicle now is your standard suspension is not going to be able to handle that. So that's the big thing that you've got to keep in mind as well. What we also try and do encourage with the customers is first get an idea of the accessories that they're willing to spend on and fit onto the vehicles. We can give a guideline, obviously, and what we recommend, but then, like I said, each customer is going to differ. So once we've got an idea of what they want to add onto the vehicle, then we look at the suspension upgrade. So you get different...
No, I'm talking about an ignorant guy like me.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And a clean slate. What do I need to get there comfortably?
Look, if once again we can give recommendations, then you give us your budget of what you're willing to spend on it.
Let's say
and then-
money is no object. I
then
wish, but I mean...
You're the type of customer we like. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
No, the options are endless once again, and it's also going to vary from vehicle to vehicle.
Because first thing, I need to figure out the terrain. I've never been there before.
Yeah.
Are you able to take me through and say, I've been there and this is what...
Yeah, look, we've done vast areas of Botswana that we have toured and beach, so and we've also got to keep in mind the various times of the year. Is it going to be raining? Is there going to be water to deal with? Is it just going to be sandy? Is it going to be keeping in mind in summer when there's no rain, for instance, like September, October, and it's so hot, that sand is as loose as dust. And that's where a lot of guys do make the mistake of getting stuck. And then obviously keeping in mind if it is sandy areas.
Sometimes they don't lower the tire pressure.
I was just going to get to that.
That's one of the biggest ones.
That is the biggest thing. And some guys don't even have 4x4 vehicles. They've only got 2x4 and they get by with just their tire pressures dropped.
Yeah. And I think those are the main destinations. But let's talk about Kasane. And I think there's the additional risk of maybe driving through elephant dung, and the last I read is that elephant dung can be deadly and dangerous in terms of thorns and stuff remaining there.
Yeah.
Any advice on that one?
Once again, coming back to the tires, if you've got a proper tire on the vehicle, which is, look, no tire is invincible. But if you do drive and just keep a bit ahead about yourself.
Is it true that elephant, or just
look, it's not just
an
that
old wives' tale?
You're gonna, especially in our area, you're gonna get thorns, you're gonna get stumps in the road. You're guaranteed you're gonna hit something along. If it's not gonna be elephant dung, it's gonna be a stump or so. And it's also being self-sufficient. Coming back to that now is your own tire repair kits, your compressors to pump up your tires, and adequate stuff in order to change your tires.
Is there such a thing as a puncture-proof tire? Or do you offer any such?
No, you're not going to get a totally puncture-proof
Or something
tire.
close to that?
Yeah, look, there is great quality products when it comes to tires on the market as well. But then once again, you're looking at very expensive accessories now that we're getting down to.
Okay.
And not everybody can afford that. But once again, not invincible tires. Nothing's invincible, especially in our terrain.
I've seen these shows with mostly 4x4s. I think it typically would be Land Rovers going through all kinds of water. I think it's a competition and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are you part of that? Are you in any way involved in those sort of deliberate sports type of activities. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
you.
We did a couple of years in a row that we did do a 4x4 challenge out at the Lion Park, which was very popular. And then, yeah, obviously just COVID came along, and everything just got put on the back burner, and we focused on other things in the business. But yeah, it was a very good turnout.
So what was your role there?
Oh, well, we were literally, what we would do, there were water pits and mud pits, and so you
Yeah.
could get through the mud pits, and there were obstacles that you would drive through with your navigator. And yeah, it was just a fun day out for the whole family, for the
Yeah,
kids,
yeah.
the wives even enjoyed it. So, yeah.
Because I was just asking more generally in terms of whether you can, since we have now adopted this word pimp the ride for those kind of things where you go through water, mud, and that kind of thing.
100%, yeah. There's, like I said, the options on accessories are it's endless. But also, once again, we've got to keep in mind, if it is a toy that somebody's got and it's literally just for that application, we can kit it out for that application. But keeping in mind that it's not the ideal setup for tar roads and stuff. So it's a toy that you literally hook onto the back of your vehicle, tow it to the destination or the venue where you're going, play around with it, do your obstacles, etc., and then load it back onto the vehicle and then go. But then once again, you've got dual purpose vehicles, like we were saying earlier, and you've got to kit that vehicle out, keeping in mind that it is going to be used as a day-to-day runner.
Yeah.
But it's also going to be, he wants to enjoy it and capable
Yeah.
of doing what we do in the courses. Yeah.
I understand that. Speaking of competitions, we have our Trans-Kalahari has been around for the longest. Where do you play in that space?
Are you talking about the Desert 1000?
Desert 1000. Trans-Kalahari Road Race. Yeah, it's been relabeled. 1000.
So where we come in on that is basically on the camping side of it. We're not involved in the race at all, but a lot of guys come to us because now obviously you've got certain areas and overnight stops, and guys want to camp next to the road to watch the race, and then obviously that's where we get involved and kit out their vehicles for that, where they're totally self-sufficient in the middle of nowhere. There's no campsite. They can literally be self-sufficient for 3-4 days.
The same also for the spectators, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's interesting. Let's talk about social media.
Yes.
That's you're an expert. What wonders can you share with young entrepreneurs out there? Things that are they don't know, little hacks or big hacks here and there on social media.
I wouldn't necessarily say there's big and small hacks, but I think what people underestimate is the power of social media. The reach that you can get through social media is amazing. I mean, we're now connected through computers and through the internet. So instead of making phone calls, you can send messages and make posts and photos which can reach people across the globe. So social media in terms of business is definitely a massive, massive marketing tool. And I think people vastly
but what are those little things that people don't know about? Give us those little secret sauces.
The secret sauces is staying active. So keeping your customers active and interested. Showing them what you're doing, what you're accomplishing during the day. Things like that. If you stay inactive, people lose interest very quickly. Especially,
what does active mean? How often should you post? Or how often do you post?
I try and post at least once a day, if not once every 2 days. But I would aim for about once a day. With that keeps people interested. I mean, look, with our generation, with flicking TV channels and changing Instagram pages and all that, you lose interest very, very quickly. So with social media, you need to be able to grab the attention of the viewer, or whatever he's watching, you need to grab his attention. It doesn't need to be for 10 minutes, but that 30 seconds or that 5 seconds or that 10 seconds, boom, it clicks and it stays. So I think the mistake some people do is dragging on videos perhaps too long, whereas keeping it short and sweet is going to be your best option with social
media. And tell me where, in terms of what you post, can you tell us sort of where you've had the biggest impact in terms of getting person like me to go all out looking for you, to invite you to this show? There must be something you did to bring it to the forefront.
That is the power of images, the power of images and video. Look, if you can grab someone's attention through images, what I try and do, we have certain fitments that we do sometimes. I try and tell a story. So if you're posting just a picture of a fully kitted 4x4, it's great, but there's not more to that. So I try and incorporate our staff. Because without our staff, we're nothing. So our staff work really, really hard.
Okay.
So I try and incorporate them into our business model and into our social media as well.
Okay. I see different names. I see Tough Dog, Rhino, Can you make sense out of these names that are
Yeah,
everywhere?
those are all of our partners.
Yeah, that's all our look. Like I said, we've been in the game since 2008 now. We've tried different products and stuff, and
What does Tough Dog do?
Tough Dog is suspension. Tough Dog is one of the brands that fall under Opposite Lock.
Okay.
Under Opposite Lock, you've got your Opposite Lock bull bars, your PIAC replacement bumpers, Tough Dog suspension, Light Force, interval battery systems. Light Force is obviously all your aftermarket lighting, driving lights, handheld spotlights. We've tried a few products, and there's products that we know are tried and tested, which we've tried and tested ourselves.
Yeah.
And they've stayed with us over the years. We stick with them 100% because we know it works. And
Opposite Lock? I'm going to go through them one by one. Opposite Lock.
Yeah.
Who's that? What's that about?
So the Opposite Lock is basically it's the main brand which Tough Dog, Light Force, etc. falls under.
Oh.
They also do the replacement bumpers, your front bumpers, bull bars, etc. And then obviously, like I said, then you get the Light Force brand, which is the performance lighting, after your driving lights and handheld spotlights, headlight upgrade kits.
Okay.
And then Intervolt, which is obviously your dual battery system management systems, where there's different options under that range as well. What else? Yeah.
Rhino.
Rhino is also front replacement bumpers. It's a brand that we represent in Botswana.
Yeah. Okay. So it used to be a time when we were told that China is the supermarket of the world. Is that where your things come from, or they are not particularly in this area?
Look, there's Thailand on replacement bumpers is very popular. A lot of the stuff comes from Thailand. There are some products that come from China, but then also a lot that come from Australia itself, which is made in Australia, tried and tested there. So it is a bit more of a premium product. It costs a bit more, but we know it works.
Okay.
I mean, we don't want to fit. Our biggest thing is we obviously got a name to uphold. I mean, we've got a good name in the industry with dealerships, with customers that have stuck with us since 2008. And the last thing we want to do is have a new customer come in, fit an inferior product on their vehicle. He goes out with his buddies for a weekend, 2 months down the line, and something fails.
Yeah.
What's the first thing he's going to do?
Unfortunately, China does provide inferior and superior products.
That's it, exactly.
So there's always a danger that you want something cheap and then you end up...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we try to, and know if there's no hard feelings in it, we try and stay away from that type of product. It might be cheaper. We've had guys that say, oh, we can get the product cheaper somewhere else. We said, listen, no hard feelings. If you want to go for that, by all means. But I don't want, like I said, I don't want to have the instance where we fit a product onto a customer's vehicle and he's, for instance, a set of drive or spotlights, and he's on his way to cattle farm in Kansi, and at night, and all of a sudden the spotlight stops working.
Yeah.
What's the first thing he's going to do? He's going to badmouth high range.
Yeah, of course.
And we don't want that.
Well, they say that if you are happy with what you get, you tell 3 people. But if you're unhappy, maybe
very true.
10 times that
very
number.
true.
10 times that
Very
number. So you're quite right. Let's talk about what sets you apart. What puts you head and shoulders above your competition in this part of the world?
Look, like I said, our main aim is to provide a superior product and an overall great experience when the customer comes in. We want
cleanliness, I noticed that.
That's a big thing. I mean, sometimes we're busy with a big build in the back in the workshop, and we're chatting to a customer in the showroom, and what's the best thing to do is actually show him it on a vehicle. So if you're going to take a customer through your workshop and you've got grease and oil and everything's lying all over the place, I mean, I wouldn't have a great image of the place if I saw that, first of all. And that's the first, is your experience. As soon as you come into the shop, cleanliness makes a big thing.
First impressions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is a very important subject, off-road security. We touched on it here and there, but I just want you guys to be systematic about it in terms of ticking a few boxes of what is the most important thing.
Safe recovery points.
Safe, recovery-wise? Look, it's once again very, very, very important and good question. And we do see a lot of it, especially on social media and videos that go around where guys are trying to, for instance, in Mogobe getting stuck, or you're stuck in sand and trying to recover each other. Accidents can happen so quickly, especially if you're not using the correct rated recovery points, or if you don't have, having them added onto the
What
vehicle.
is that? Can you talk English?
So you
what does
get-
that mean? Correct rate of recovery point.
Yeah, so recovery points is basically attachments on your vehicle, which you can attach a shackle to, which you attach either a recovery rope to, which the vehicle is going to pull you out with, or like I said, proper, it's
Like
you
a
want-
hook, something to hook
It's a
on.
hook. It's good. You're going to get round recovery points. Some guys, the biggest mistake that guys do make, your standard tow bar that's on the back of the vehicle, guys think that's strong enough to use as a recovery point.
It's not?
It's the biggest mistake you can make.
It's killed many people.
It's literally.
How do you mean?
So, for instance,
What
recovery
can go
points
wrong?
wise, you got straps. You get kinetic straps, which is a strap which you basically connect between the two vehicles, which is obviously attached to both vehicles. Your one vehicle reverses towards the vehicle that needs to be recovered, and then the vehicle takes off, and it's a kinetic action, which then pulls and then snatches that your vehicle that's stuck out of the obstacle that it's stuck in. But if you don't use the correct recovery points for that, there is so much pressure on that rope that, for instance, guys using a standard tow bar, that tow bar literally breaks off and flies through windscreens. It literally takes jaw.
And if people are there, I don't.
It literally can kill you. There's horrible videos about it where, and we just try and encourage guys to be very, very careful. Once again, using a winch, which we were talking about earlier on the front of a vehicle, is you get winch blankets, which before you even start winching, put around the winch rope, that if something does come off your recovery point where you're attached to, and that hook comes flying by, the stuff that's wrapped around the rope stops it, obviously slows it down from coming towards the vehicle that's being recovered. Once again, same thing, even if you are snatching or pulling a vehicle out, having your bonnet up, you have to do that.
Is it your experience that most of the tow bars that vehicles come with are not appropriate for this?
Yeah, look, you must remember each accessory on a vehicle has got its sole purpose.
I mean the manufacturer.
Look, it's
one.
if you're using it simply for towing a trailer or a boat or a caravan, that's what it's made for. It's not made for severe pressure on it with that, for instance, like a recovery setup where you're snatching.
Where something's stuck in.
Exactly, it's not made for that. And that's why you need to have properly rated recovery points on the vehicle for that application.
So you may have to purpose build a new one. Refit everything.
Yes, you do get replacement rear bumpers, your front bull bars, which especially on the rear you get your jacking points, and then you get what they call your recovery eyes, that your shackles attached to, which you then attach your straps to for the
So are
recovery
you giving
purpose.
your customers an option of surrendering some of these things and having them replaced,
Yeah.
with the possibility of you reselling them or whatever?
What the customers thinks.
Yeah,
We try not to do that. If we do know that somebody does need something that the customer is removing, we'll tell the customer, okay, listen, we can give him contacts.
Yeah.
But we try not to everything that we take off a customer's vehicle, be it the last little bolt or washer, go straight back into the customer's vehicle and they leave with it. Yeah.
Speaking of safety, I mean, there have been incidents where, wild animals rush through, and I've heard people say that they're normally attracted to the light. Can you make that simple to understand for us?
Look, there's an old wives' tale where they, especially when they see your light, Kudu have been very well known for that.
Yes.
Where they say they see the light and they try and jump over the light. That's why you hit them through the windscreen and etc.
Is that completely a old?
Look, it could
Are
be.
you going to debunk that myth?
I'm not going to debunk it. There were rumors back in. I can remember as a youngster, the old people used to say you used to drive at night and you leave your interior light on, so that when a kudu comes across the road, it's trying to jump over that light, so it misses you. And I'm not saying there's any rumors in it or there's no truth behind it.
Yeah.
But that's why we fit bull bars and proper spotlights.
Okay. Because you can't really protect yourself against that, can
No,
you?
you can't. Look, Botswana roads is not advised to drive at night. If you can stay off the roads at night, we 100% encourage that. But there's obviously guys that, he's got his cattle post 500 kilometers away. He's got to work till 5 o'clock on a Friday, and he needs to get his rations to his staff and stuff out on the farm.
Yeah.
He hasn't got a choice, and that's where the Light Force brand comes in with proper aftermarket lighting. So when they are off road, they can.
What else are people overlooking in terms of safety, general safety?
Unfortunately, crime is also a big thing at the moment with stuff being stolen off vehicles, etc. And we've had the few odd cases where customers have had that issues. So we also
Is
try
that
and
certain parts of the country or just generally?
generally, obviously the cities is a big thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, the stuff that we
But
do
in
fit.
camps, they're out there in the bush.
No, there's not really. Hey, there's you fairly. The only thing you got to worry about there is your baboons, which will steal your food.
Yeah.
Your elephants, which will also steal your food.
Yeah.
And then your lions and leopards and hyenas and stuff that
Yeah.
want your meat. So
Yeah.
that you just got to keep that all safe.
Yeah. So do you advise people to go on these lone adventures in the bush, or you need to be going to a specific camp where that the systems for safety are in place?
Once again, very, very, very good question. Like us, we do get a lot of customers which are just getting into the whole camping and outdoor thing, and obviously aren't as advanced or have as much info and experience when they're going off-road. So in those situations, we always try and encourage them to be at least 2 vehicles in their convoy, so to speak, so that if there is an issue with one vehicle, they do have another vehicle that can obviously help them and go and find help, and so they're not totally stranded. Yeah.
Okay. In terms of knowing how to deal with animals when you are confronted, is it something you're able to speak to? For instance, I've always wondered what I would do when I'm just facing that lion and it's just me and the lion. Can you give a few tips about that?
Look, have a lot of toilet paper with you.
Yeah.
Look, the biggest thing that they obviously try and make a noise and don't run. The biggest thing that you shouldn't do is not run. Is run, should I mean? If you run, if you run, they're going to see you as prey. So you just need to try and show them that. Try and act as big as them. Try not to be. Show them.
What
that
about
you're
eye
scared.
contact?
Look, there's so many different situations where if a lion is charging at you already, you're going to be looking at him, or you're going to be looking where you're going to run to, which is the biggest mistake to do.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing, try and look as big as possible, make as much noise as possible. Don't show them that you're scared. Once you show that you're the weakling and turn around and run, it's game over.
Can you then move backwards and get closer to the car?
100%, but in a slow, safe manner, not like run back or sudden movements, because that's going to trigger them.
Okay.
So once you do get sort of control over the situation, move back slowly. If they are approaching, stop. Try and get their attention and tell them, look, I'm not scared of you. Stay where you are. This is my territory. And then just slowly back off. Yeah.
What about a venomous snake? God forbid it bites you. What do you do when you're out there in the middle of nowhere?
It's a tricky one, that, hey. There's such a big hype about snakes. I mean, the amount of snake bites out in the middle of nowhere it's minimal. There's such a hatred towards them, unfortunately. Look, I hate snakes myself.
I hate to interrupt you, but on Monday I get a call from my GM at Black, my general manager. What happened? I got bitten by a snake, and the doctor says it's a cobra. And what's worse, this is from my manager at Black, and he says I go to hospital eventually. I mean, he said he could hardly breathe, and his leg is swollen. And when they get to the hospital, they say there's no antivenom.
The big short.
Luckily, he remembered the traditional stuff. There's this particular tree he remembered from his days as a scout boy or something.
Yeah.
And he had access to that and consumed that particular plant.
Yeah.
And he's alive today.
Wow.
But it'd be nice if you guys could give us a few tips.
Look, we've got a lot of one of our customers who we kit out all these vehicles there's guys involved with snake relocation, catching and relocating them, and it's a very good contact to have as well. So if something like that, we obviously give that info out to our customers.
So you call the guy and say, look, I've just been bitten. But I describe the type of snake and that kind of thing.
What do you recommend I do then? So that all can be done telephonically, but obviously the biggest thing is get to the nearest medical help as soon as possible. Yeah.
Only to be told there's no antivenom.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can. Foundations of any 4x4, particularly are Tyres and suspension. You mentioned this, but perhaps you could just simplify it for the viewer, why you think of that as a foundation.
Look, you've got to remember your vehicle comes out standard from the factory to load a certain amount of weight on it. Obviously, also depending on some vehicles you don't need it. But now if we are adding, I won't say excessive, but a substantial extra amount of weight to the vehicle, you've got to keep in mind that your suspension is going to have to be changed, because if you're going to be traveling with your lights up in the air and you're swaying all over the place, 120 k's an hour on the highway, you are asking for problems. But once again, it's such a critical part of the whole setup that you need to actually sit down with a customer, and because it's quite a big part of your whole setup, part of your budget is going to go into your suspension. So you've got to sit down and speak in fairly deep detail with your customer what his long-term plan is with his vehicle, what is he going to add onto the vehicle at a later stage. Once you've got that in mind, you then discuss with them, okay, listen, there's this different spec, you've got this type of leaf spring. If it's a coil sprung vehicle, this type of coil spring is going to be able to handle that weight. But then we also got to keep in mind, and once again in detail chat with the customer, how often is he going to be removing that the extra weight we've added, because like I said earlier, a lot of customers, it's a dual purpose vehicle. So once you've spec'd a vehicle with that suspension and you take that extra weight off, it's going to be an unpleasant ride because you haven't got that weight on there anymore. It's it's such an integral part of your whole setup that we like to chat to a customer in detail about lots of aspects, like I said, in the future, because it is critical.
Yeah, just when you're mentioning that, I'm thinking of these large buses. I've seen these huge buses with thick tires, and you get the impression that these are sort of career travelers, and and you hear somebody saying, are you helping those kind of customers, and are there any considerations there in terms of suspension?
Look, on that range, no, unfortunately not. We don't get, look, on some accessories we do help. We do get a lot of guys that do tour Africa and or coming from Europe.
I think there's quite a number.
That's
because it's always, when I'm going to Maung, there's always a whole bunch of them.
From big trucks to guys on bicycles and bags on the bicycles. It's ridiculous.
It seems like full time. It's not just,
so we do, obviously on their trips they have damages or stuff that gets broken or irreparable and they need new stuff.
But
so
you don't pimp those sort of rides, so to speak.
We're not.
Why is that? Is that a conscious decision?
Look, it is a totally different market. We, once again, a lot of those guys are coming from Europe or South Africa or Australia for that.
From everywhere.
Germany or wherever it is.
Even the States.
They already kitted out on those vehicles and then they're coming to or traveling the world.
But their considerations insofar as suspension are different. I mean, if it's a bus is accustomed to going on tarred road,
100%.
I would imagine, what would it take to
it's a massive conversion on that.
Tell me about that, if you know something about it.
Some of it works off hydraulic, depending on what the weight that they're carrying and what the model of the vehicle is. But there's a lot of companies out there that do cater for that type of stuff solely, obviously in different parts of the world. And they import it from there, get the guys to fit it for them. But once again, they will be chatting to those guys in detail saying, okay, I've got a man truck or a Merc bus or a Vico that I'm converting. This is what the extra weight I'm going to be adding onto it. They'll speak to these guys who solely deal in that type of stuff. And they will spec the correct setup for them.
Tell me about your own personal 4x4 experience and trip and your favorite one and why. Tell me why.
Wow, I've got many. One of my favorite trips that I did was something called the Putfoot Rally. So it's a social rally, it's not a rally where you win something. So that was from Cape Town to Lake Malawi. So we did the whole of Namibia up through Caprivi Strip, through Zambia and up to Lake Malawi, and then back down through Botswana and ended up back in Cape Town. And that was an awesome trip.
Any aha moments from the trip?
Any what?
Aha moments. Oh, I didn't know this. I discovered this. This happened.
Look, there was a lot of new places that I discovered. I love traveling Africa. Since I was a little kid, my dad used to take me through the bush and all that. So this is why I do what I do today, is because I love.
So it took like what, a whole month on the trip?
It took us about 3 weeks.
3 weeks, okay.
It was intense. So there was a lot of driving.
From where to where?
From Cape Town to Lake Malawi, back to Cape Town. So that took us about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And that was a really nice trip. I mean, you see places that you.
When I say aha moments, I just mean interesting things like, dealing with those, police officers who say your passport doesn't have enough pages, that kind of thing.
I would say from my personal experience, the Zambian cops were brilliant. They were so nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure it differs for everyone else.
Yeah,
but the experience that I had with them,
there was none of that. Hey, I see something missing. Yeah.
No. They were like, I've got nothing but good things to say about the Zambian police.
And the roads, what the quality of the roads?
The Zambian roads quality is not so nice, but
potholes everywhere.
Potholes everywhere, but a highlight was the Namibian roads. The roads in Namibia were incredibly well maintained, very, very, very well maintained.
Someone was saying these are not potholes; they are fish ponds.
Yeah, and in terms of wildlife, Botswana, of course, was number
the best.
one.
Okay,
yeah, for
all
sure.
right. And do you do this often, like once a year type of thing?
No, this was in 2016, so I haven't done a big trip like that per se since then. But now working at High Range, look, we're very busy all the time, so the trips have come less and less. But I do take trips with the family. The last one was at the Makharagari Pans in July.
Any lessons learned? Something that you make sure you incorporate this time that you didn't do then? Any lessons learned?
Safety. Traveling with children, you must always have a first aid kit. Or children, not only children, but just safety.
Are you telling me you had forgotten it?
No, I've had it, but the amount of times that my children have fallen, or I had an instance where we were making coffee, and my daughter grabbed the gas canister that we were making coffee on and completely burnt her hand. And luckily we had a first aid kit. And this comes back to snake bites, to accidents, to all of that. Having a first aid kit is essential when overlanding, especially in Africa. Yeah.
What about for you? Any memorable trip you want to share with us?
Obviously being in Botswana, seeing quite a bit, there's a lot of them are one of your favorites, but to pick one out is very difficult. But we actually, in our early stages of High Range, it was around 2010, I think, we done a trip with the SA 4x4 magazine from South Africa and Frontrunner, one of our main suppliers. And we had a bunch of Land Cruisers and Land Rovers. It was a whole competition, but between Land Cruiser and Land Rover. So there were some obstacles and challenges we had to do along the way. And very, very memorable driving through deep water.
I wonder who won that competition. Land Rover
let's not go
let's
into
not
that.
Say it's a very
controversial customers.
Yeah. Fully understood. So what was it about the trip that you enjoyed the most?
It's just seeing, like I said, once again, just experiencing what Botswana has got to offer.
Yeah.
From the dryness, from Makharagari to the wide open spaces, and then heading into mine, and then starting off into the Marimi in the Delta. It's just the vast differences of the areas that you can see is amazing.
It's a beautiful country. It's a beautiful country.
Look, I think Botswana is an outdoor lover's playground. If you're looking for something like New York, you're not going to find it here. But if you're looking for that outdoor lifestyle and
adventure,
being in the bush, seeing animals and so on, you've come to the right place.
Absolutely. Storage, roof storage. You already mentioned its importance. Let's talk about various brackets. What can you advise? Suppose somebody is planning a trip for next week. What would you tell them to do?
Look, coming back again now to Frontrunner, one of our main suppliers. We're the agents for them in Botswana. Their speciality is roof rack and accessory storage on your roof. And like I said, if you've got an accessory that you need to store, Frontrunner is going to have a solution for it. And like I said, the options are numerous, from spare wheels to high lift jack, axe, spade, water. One of the most difficult things to store while camping is your camping table. Frontrunner have got brackets which slide in underneath your roof rack, which is totally out of the way, easily accessible. Your 3-pot cooking pot, which is probably also one of the most difficult things to store in a vehicle. They've got a bracket for that which sits on your roof rack, straps down, out of the way, easily accessible.
Is it best to have a closed one, or it doesn't really matter?
Majority of the roof racks are open. All your accessories you can expose them to the elements. They do, however, also have what they call transit bags. And your ammo boxes, which you store your stuff in, sit inside these transit bags, which are secured to the roof rack. Yeah. So also, once again, waterproof.
I'm just trying to imagine, but when it rains, what you do, or you'll have a special, covering for.
Once again, we've got a canvas department which does specialize in custom-made canvas works if that is needed. But like I said, Frontrunner's got various options on storage bags which are waterproof, dustproof. So you can store your stuff in the roof and secure it away, and you know it's safe from the elements.
Okay. Speaking of canvas, do you supply tents as well?
We do. Once again, we do ground tents. Then obviously, for the whole camping setup, what we try and do is kit vehicles out to be totally self-sufficient with everything on your vehicle. So we do a wide variety.
So you don't have to leave the vehicle,
No.
even to sleep.
No, everything you sleep on top of the vehicle. Yeah, so we've got
Safer that way.
Oh, exactly. Especially with lions and leopards, etc.
Yeah.
A lot of guys do prefer the rooftop tents. They just feel a lot safer up there.
Yeah.
And once again, a wide variety. We do iCamper. There's the front runner tents. We do Howling Moon. We do Alucab. There's a wide range of options. Once again, depending on budget of the customer.
There you are in the bush. You've traveled across the terrain and you want to sleep. What are the do's and don'ts in the bush, in the middle of nowhere?
Don't run off at night.
Yeah. Alcohol does tend to make you do stupid things. We tend
So
to
don't bring it.
No, look, obviously have a few beers, enjoy it.
Yeah.
But don't lose control of yourself. Let's put it that way, because it can be very, very dangerous. Obviously, just stay by your camp, have a fire going.
But the one that I'm learning now is you have to make sure you're in the car. You don't want to erect a tent away from the car.
Yeah, look, if it is always better to have everything
in the vehicle.
On the vehicle, so it's a one-stop shop. You literally get to, and like I said, there's some tents now where you literally get to your campsite, undo 2 latches, the shocks push it open, Bob's your uncle, and you're ready to sleep.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's
and one portion is covered in the vehicle, and the tent just extends.
Yeah, so some of them tents extend open to the sideways, and then you've got extensions which attach to that, so you've got an extra room or changing room for the ladies, etc. at the bottom, and then you've also got your awnings which open up to the side to protect from sun or if it's raining. Yep.
Now let's talk about COVID. How did it impact your business, negatively or positively?
Look, funny enough, COVID year was actually one of our better years, to be honest, funny enough. Coming back to the story earlier where obviously guys couldn't cross border to travel and they wanted to get out of the house. And once again, with the beauty of Botswana and the options which are endless, guys started realizing that and started spending money on their vehicles to be self-sufficient and go out and see all these great places in Botswana. And it was amazing to see.
So it didn't affect your bottom line?
Funny enough, not.
If anything, it affected it positively.
We couldn't complain, let's put it that way. We were actually very, very, very blessed and lucky,
Yeah. That's a very strange thing about COVID, eh?
It's strange, eh? How it affects certain people, and unfortunately, which was very sad.
Yeah.
But we were, like I said, we were blessed and very, very lucky.
Okay. Now, in terms of tourism coming back, because the media has tried to convince us that tourism is gone. Is it coming back or it's never went anywhere?
Look, it's definitely picking up from where it's obviously post-COVID. It's definitely picking up.
If I'm skeptical, how can you back yourself up? What proof is there?
Well, look at all the foreign vehicles on the roads, traveling, coming in at the border posts and stuff. It's with their camping trailers and with their fully kitted vehicles, and it's definitely picking up here.
So what's the right word? Your outlook for 2023?
Look, it's how things are going at the moment. It can only get better. Obviously, the biggest thing that also affects our business is the cost of fuel. Cost of fuel goes up. Everything goes up. Yeah. But if your fuel's expensive to try and travel, you use a lot of fuel traveling around Botswana, and especially in the terrains that you're traveling in, and that is a very big key factor, and that's something that does worry us. Okay,
let me ask a question that I'm always, it's always being demanded of me. Is there zaga? Is there money? Is there serious money in this business? Is it something that you encourage a young Motswana out there to venture into?
Look, it all depends what market you're going to target. It's like I said, it's going to vary from company to company. Your products that you are offering, but the biggest thing, no matter what you do, and obviously in any line of business, is your service that you offer. Correct. A lot of our customers come in and all the accessories we fit on. We say to them, listen, okay, we fitted all of this. We've got certain, especially on your suspension setups. It's a whole procedure that you've got to go through with. After 500 kilometers, it has to come back into us. We do some measurements, tighten everything up, put grease where grease is necessary, and then we encourage the customers once before every big trip or once every 5,000 kilometers, come in, have a coffee with us. It takes 10-15 minutes. We go through all their suspension. We don't charge for it. It's just a service we offer.
Okay.
And if you do that with your accessories, it's going to last you a very, very long time.
Let me ask it differently. I don't think he's answered the question, but he's added useful information. The question is this: can a young Botswana spend his 10,000 hours in terms of immersing himself in this industry and come out with the bucks, assuming that you really get into it and learn everything there is to learn?
Look, I think like Brandon said, it depends on your market and your target market audience. Also, these accessories are not cheap things, you know, so it's going to take a bit of bucks to get started and get going and so on and so on.
But in the end,
look, the biggest thing is if you've got the right product and you'll get the clientele. It's just as long as you provide a great service and you've got the right product which can withstand the terrain that your vehicles get used in, you can't go wrong here.
okay, all right. So maybe they should give it a shot. Would you encourage them to?
I would have.
Okay. Do you have any kind of trainings or in terms of internships or specialized training?
We don't have. We don't offer that, unfortunately. But look, if the market is there or if the need is there, I'm sure it's something that we can look at.
Consider.
Yeah.
All right. Let's now ask that question which I skipped. 5 to 10 years. How do we see ourselves in the next 5 to 10, even 15 years?
Look, like I said, the brands that and products that we're representing at the moment, we back them 100% and they back us 110%. We've built up a great name here, and we just look forward to new products that get released, and them supporting us and us supporting them for forever, how long we carry on in the business.
But is there anything I can envisage in the next 10 years, like another branch or 10 outposts, or maybe opening in the rest of Africa?
Look, we have been asked that a few times for certain areas in Botswana. Why don't we open up another branch there?
Maybe Francistown?
There's a few places. Look, it's in the pipeline. We're looking at it, but we've also got to remember it's not a cheap exercise to keep an operation like that running. So you do need feet through your shop. You need the business and you need the vehicles to do this stuff.
But you also need to grow.
No, 100%. Yeah. Look, we've got customers from as far as Kasani that drive down. We've even had customers from Tanzania, Zimbabwe, that have driven down to Gabs to get the vehicles kitted out. We've had inquiries from Australia.
That's how good your social media page is.
100%.
Yeah.
And so it's in the pipeline, but it is something that you need to sit down and work out and see if it is justifiable. Yeah.
I'm not happy with that answer. I want to know what we'll see in 15 years. Surely there's some plans.
By 15 years, the areas that we are looking at, I'm sure there is going to be enough feet going through there and enough vehicles and people. And obviously, look how Gabs has grown in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So
maybe you don't need to grow outside Gabs.
Not really, but like I said, if the areas that we have been looking at or people have requested us to open up in, and it does grow as the way Gabs has grown in the last 10, 15 years, it definitely would be viable to start looking at something like that.
Okay. Time for you to hit me with a couple of questions. You first, or whichever one of you.
Go for it, Brennan.
Yeah.
How did you get to where you are today? And what's your background?
How much time do you have? That's a whole show in itself. But I started off as a lawyer, and then I got interested in real estate, and I put all my attention into real estate, and then real estate eclipsed the law, and now I'm interested in helping other entrepreneurs. I do that through Angel Network. Thank you. I do that through Angel Network Botswana, and I do that through this platform. Awesome. So the idea is to keep doing what I'm doing, to keep growing the brand.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. But really humble beginnings, I call myself a cattle post boy.
I wanted to ask you, where are you from originally?
I'm from Kanye, but I grew up in a cattle post called Makatanyani, another one called Mahumalebe. Okay. So these two cattle posts have influenced what I'm doing now.
Oh, awesome.
And if you had time, maybe you'll invite me for tea. I'll tell you all about it.
All the details behind it.
Yeah, that's a short response to your question. Yeah,
that's great.
What's your question?
I would love to know how many employees you look after and some tips as to how to keep those employees happy and productive.
Yeah, there was a point when we did our numbers, it was about 170.
Wow.
But I think after COVID, maybe around 150. I'm not sure now. The idea is to have an active HR department,
Correct.
which looks at welfare and to try and pay them what the market demands
Yeah.
and keep them happy. We don't always succeed in that. We do also try to offer trainings, personal development. I'm constantly encouraging them to read and to learn.
Yeah.
Some of them just dismiss me; they're not interested, but some are really interested in that,
That's
developing. If an employee buys into the future of the company or the future of the enterprise as the Mogobe Incorporated group of companies, I find that those who buy into that future, into the vision that we paint for them, those are the most loyal. Those
Yeah,
are-
for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And it
it's-
goes both ways.
Yes,
You know?
yes,
If the
yes,
company looks after the employees look after the company, and
yes,
So,
yes.
it's a good cycle.
It becomes self-fulfilling.
correct.
So I hope I've answered both your questions.
No,
You have.
As we conclude our conversation, I'm going to invite each one of you to say something very inspirational and short arising from our conversation. Talk to the viewer. Look at the camera.
I would say get off the couch and go explore our beautiful country of Botswana. It's a wonderful place to be, and yeah. Mr. Brendan?
Yeah, well, I'm sure we've got evidence here. Is don't give up. Put some hard work in, and you can achieve what your heart desires and follow your dreams.
Absolutely. Now, the social media man is going to tell us all the contact details on social media and even physically where you are. Share all the details with the viewer.
So you can find us on Facebook, High Range Safari City, as well as Instagram. You can also check out our Canopy Center Facebook and Instagram page, which is our sister company. And we've just started a little TikTok page, so you can find us on there as well, High Range Safari City. Yeah.
Okay.
Find us on-
Emails? And
Emails,
landlines and stuff?
Alex at highrange.co.bw is where you'll find me, the marketing manager. And then Brendan's got his email as well.
That's Brendan, BRENDON at HIRANGE.co.bw. Our landline at High Range is 318-7003.
Excellent, excellent. I really enjoyed this
Thank
one,
you, Mr.
gentlemen.
Mogobe.
Thank
No,
you
thanks,
very
man.
much
It was awesome.
for honoring. I enjoyed it.
No, thanks a lot for that.
Bye-bye, guys.